It's been a minute, guys, but I'm back. We're in the new year now. I decided to start making content again, so we're just going to get straight into it. Now, I am still very much in the marketing space, in the paid media space, and growing with paid traffic, helping e-commerce businesses grow with paid traffic. But along the way, I found an even faster way to grow your business, and that's kind of how I ended up transitioning into the mergers and acquisition space. So what I've been doing for the last year or so is actually looking for businesses to buy and executing on something called a roll up. Now, that's what we're going to be talking about in the video today. A roll up is when you buy a number of small businesses and bring them all under one umbrella. And then the sum of the parts are greater than the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, which effectively means that, 1 + 1 = 3. We add all these businesses together. Let's say they're 10 $1 million businesses. The group ends up being worth 20 or $30 million. And we'll get into all of that in just a second. But to give you a bit of backstory as to kind of where I've been over the last 12 or 18 months and where we're going into the future. As you know, I was running this marketing company and am still running the marketing company, and that's doing phenomenally well. However, mergers and acquisitions and actually buying businesses has always been a passion of mine. Right back to about 5 or 6 years ago with Ape Athletics, we acquired a 60% stake in one of our clients' companies after doing $100,000 in revenue in a day for them. Way back when we did that, it was their first $100,000 day, and then we proceeded with the acquisition and became majority stakeholders in the company. Subsequent to that, we've explored a number of other acquisitions, and of course, I've started my multiple e-commerce brands along the way, and the marketing agency itself it did millions and millions and millions of dollars in revenue and continues to do so today. So, like I said, along the way, I decided to take the dive into the acquisition space, and acquisitions are the fastest way to grow your business. I've got a lot of buddies in the space, and it's funny because being a paid advertiser, a media buyer, a Facebook and Google advertiser, whatever you want to call it, we often look down on organic marketing strategies and organic growth or organic customer acquisitions because it's just so much slower than paid growth. Now, these guys that I've been hanging out with in the M&A space literally look at it the same way and use the exact same terms. Now, they refer to, when they talk about organic growth, they refer to internal business growth. That includes everything right from posting on social media to try and get more clients all the way through to the paid advertising. Everything when it comes to growing an individually isolated business is organic growth. Then paid growth is when you grow your business by buying other businesses. So what we're going to talk about today is going to be totally relevant both to those who have never started or run a business before, because I think this is the best and most effective way to make your first $1 million, and to those that have large 5, 10, $50 million businesses who want to grow and turn that into a $1 billion enterprise. This is exactly how it's done. So first off, just to explain the fundamentals, I got to make sure that you can see my screen here. I'm going to explain to you exactly how the commercials of a roll-up work. Now, like I mentioned, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts is the basic premise of executing on a roll-up. So if we have these businesses are generally valued as a multiple of their profit. Okay, so that means if we have, let's just call it a doctor's practice, where there are 3 doctors working in the practice, and this applies for online business. It applies for software companies. Software companies are a fantastic roll-up, actually, right across the board, the whole spectrum of businesses. This is something that is applicable. So let's say we have a doctor's practice that is billing $3 million per year. Okay, so that means there are $3 million worth of customers coming in. So that is our revenue in my autistic handwriting here. Then that amounts to $2 million of expenses and $1 million in profit. Okay, we have this term, maybe I can type here. We have this term known as, known as EBITDA. And what EBITDA stands for is earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization, which is effectively the net profit, and then anything that your accountant depreciated over the year, or any loans that have been amortized, sort of all these weird financial lingos and add backs and stuff, we add back to the profit margin. But for now, when you hear EBITDA, just think net profit. So we have $1 million in net profit. Okay. Now, typically businesses of this size will be valued at about 2 to 4 times EBITDA, depending on where you are. Okay. That means if it's a business that's generating 1 million in revenue, apologies, 1 million in EBITDA, the value of this business will amount to $2 to $4 million. Okay. That's for this business. Now, of course, businesses range from very, very small to very, very big. So let's say a business is doing 250K a year. And then we've got another business that's doing 1 million a year. Oh, then we've got another business that's doing 5 million. And then we've got another business that's doing 50 million. These businesses right down here are heavily owner operator dependent. That means the guy that started the business is probably still doing all the stuff in the business. Looking back at doctors' practices, the doctor that started the business is certainly still seeing patients, and it might be just him, right? If it's only doing 250K a year in revenue. And so that business is often worth not very much as a multiple of EBITDA. It might be worth 1 times EBITDA, right? So a year's worth of profits. Here, the business might be worth a little bit more because it's less owner dependent. Sure, the owner might still be running the business, but there might be 2 or 3 other doctors in there. So if the owner gets hit by a bus tomorrow, at least patients can still be seen. You know, the business can keep running. It doesn't just cease to exist. So it might be 2 times EBITDA here. The $5 million business becomes more interesting because there is a layer of management in place so that, again, if the doctor gets hit by the bus tomorrow, the business continues to run. It's not just that they can keep, you know, in the $1 million example, they can keep seeing patients. We are going to have to take over some of the work from the doctor. We might be scrambling because, you know, who's doing the marketing, who's hiring the receptionist, who's managing that stuff. We might have to replace that layer of management. The $5 million businesses, most of that stuff is taken care of by the time they get to that point. And then the $50 million businesses run truly autonomously. So that this one might be worth 3 times, and this one might be worth 6 times. Okay. So that's one reason why businesses are worth more as they get larger and larger. The other reason why they're worth more as they get larger and larger is because you have large private equity companies. Now, the way these private equity companies or funds work is a founder of that fund will go and speak to a whole bunch of family offices and high net worth individuals, and they'll pull together, let's say, $200 million to go and buy businesses with. Now, they've got that $200 million and they've got a mandate from their investors saying you need to deploy and buy $250 million worth of businesses. Now, for that guy that's managing that fund to go and buy $250,000 businesses, he's just not going to be able to do it. It's just not economically viable. So there's a very small market of buyers for businesses that are this small, and that's why they're valued less, right? Instead of buying, it would have to be with his $200 million, he'd be able to buy 800 of these businesses. He would only have to buy 4 of these businesses. And so it's much easier for these large money funds to be able to deploy capital when the businesses are much larger. And so there is more money looking to buy larger businesses, which means there's more competition and the value of these businesses goes up. Okay. Reason why this is important is looking back at what a roll-up is. We are buying businesses in the same industry that are very similar and folding them all into one mega structure, one mega corp, right? So we might buy, the example I used earlier, 10 $1 million businesses. Those businesses that are doing $1 million in revenue, let's say they're doing a 20% profit margin. We might be able to, let me see if I can show you here. Can I clear this? Okay. So these businesses that are doing $1 million in revenue, we're going to buy 10 of them. Each of these businesses are doing 20% profit, let's just say. That's our EBITDA, remember? Earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. So they're each generating $200 Okay. Now, $1 million business, we're going to say, as per the previous slides that we went through, let's just say is worth 2x EBITDA on average, which means that each one of these businesses is worth 400K. So let's say we go and buy 10 of them. It's cost us $4 million. And we're going to get into where the money comes from, don't worry. So we've spent $4 million on businesses. And our total EBITDA is 200K from each business times 10. So profit. Now we're doing $2 million. Now remember from earlier, if the business is now generating a revenue of 10 million, because we have 10 $1 million businesses, then the multiple of EBITDA is 4 times. So the business is worth 4 times EBITDA, right? With our $2 million profit, we now have an enterprise value of $8 million. Okay. So we paid $4 million to buy these businesses, and it's now worth $8 million. So we just made $4 million. And that's where the value is realized from a roll up, because there's these large companies that want to deploy their capital in order to purchase businesses. The value that we're creating is we're going and putting together those companies for them to buy and continue to grow. That's called a platform company, right? So the private equity company will come in, they'll buy the platform company, and they'll take over from you and continue to grow it with larger acquisitions or whatever. Or that acquisition may be a bolt on for them. Let's say you buy 10 doctors' practices, and there's a company that has 150 practices around the country. They might want to buy you as part of their growth strategy, right? And so that's how we realize value in a roll up. That's effectively what I'm working on right now. We've been running around for the last 3 years. For the last year doing this, and we now have 3 deals that are in due diligence, which means that we're doing all the final paperwork on them and finalizing the funding, speaking to the banks. I'm not putting any money down in this. So the thing that you need to understand is you don't necessarily need to have the $4 million in order to buy $4 million worth of businesses and then sell it for $8 million. But yeah, that's a roll up, and exactly how a roll up works. Now, acquisitions are also the best way for, if you already have a business, to grow your business, both from that enterprise value perspective, right? So let's say you've got an e-commerce brand, you're doing $10 million a year in revenue, and $1.5 million of that is profit, and you want to grow into a $100 million company. The fastest way to do it is to buy more e-commerce brands, whether they're complementary or competitors or whatever it may be. Or you can also vertically integrate. I'm throwing a lot of ideas out there. If you guys enjoy this, please let me know, and I'll create more videos and break down each one of these ideas. But you can vertically integrate. And what vertical integration means is when you're buying up your supply chain and down, which so let's say you have that doctor's practice, you might go and buy the drug wholesaler, the people that supply you with medicines and perishable goods and things like that. Or you might want to buy down the supply chain. It doesn't really work with the doctor example, because you're servicing the end consumer. But let's say with a manufacturing company, let's say you're manufacturing foods, you might go and buy the food brands that you're manufacturing for in order to capture more of that profit. Gets a little bit more complicated. We'll talk about it at a later stage. But again, let me know what content you guys want to be seeing. And I think we can wrap it up there. That's been quite a lot. Let's see how long we've been going for. 15 minutes. I think it's a good starting point. Like I said, I'm going to be making more content again. This is the next level of business for many of you guys that are already running large companies. You know, when you start with business. It's all about working in your business. You are the guy that's designing the e-com product, doing all of the marketing and sweeping the floors as well, packaging products, whatever it is. You're very much working in the business, and all of you have been working very, very hard to get to the point where you're working on the business, right? That means you can take a step back and the business works and operates without you, but you may still be involved in the business's growth. The next stage on from that is working above the business. Okay, it's a very big paradigm shift where effectively the business is the product. Okay, in the past I had a marketing company. I was selling to e-com business owners. Now I'm actually selling to and the marketing product was the product itself. The business owners were the customer. Now I'm actually buying these businesses and preparing them, wrapping them up where my customer is the end private equity company, for example. So the business becomes the product. Yeah, lots and lots of ideas, lots that we can get into. I just wanted to get a video out so that we could kick this off. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm curious. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and comment and let me know if you want more videos like this, and I can break down each one of those topics. If you're watching this on Facebook, please, I'd really appreciate it if you dropped a comment and let me know your thoughts. It'll be good to hear from and reconnect with a lot of you guys again. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for making it this far in the video, and I'm looking forward to future videos.